Commander Jack Nelson stood at the viewport of Ganymede Station and watched the distant lights of the Clavari ships. The alien vessels hovered near Jupiter's atmosphere, their sleek hulls gleaming in the gas giant's reflected light. He counted 12 ships today. Yesterday there had been only 9. "They're getting bolder," Jack said to no one in particular. He ran a hand through his short gray hair and frowned. The communications officer behind him cleared her throat. "Sir, Admiral, Wright is ready for your report." Jack turned from the viewport and nodded. "Put her through to my office." In the small room that served as his command center, Jack activated the secure channel. Admiral Lisa Wright's face appeared on the screen. Her expression was grim. "What's the count today, Commander?" she asked without greeting. 12 ships, Admiral. They're moving closer to the mining operations on Europa. I don't think they're just observing anymore." The Admiral's jaw tightened. "Our intelligence says they're scanning our defense systems, testing our response times." Jack had suspected as much. The Clavari had first contacted Earth 20 years ago. They arrived with advanced technology and promises of peaceful exchange. But their actions told a different story. In the past 5 years, they had established unauthorized outposts throughout the solar system. Each one brought their ships closer to Earth. "What are your orders, Admiral?" Jack asked. "Maintain position, document everything. The President is meeting with the Clavari ambassador today. We're hoping for a diplomatic solution." She didn't sound hopeful. "And if diplomacy fails?" Jack asked. Admiral Wright's eyes narrowed. "Then we have contingencies. Nelson, how's the crew holding up?" "They're tense. Everyone sees what's happening. The Clavari aren't even trying to hide their buildup anymore." The Admiral nodded. "Keep them ready. Right out." The screen went dark and Jack leaned back in his chair. The situation reminded him of history books about the moments before major conflicts throughout human history. The quiet before the storm. Dad. The Nevada Desert Research Complex, Dr. Olivia Martinez worked through her 4th straight night. The laboratory hummed with energy as technicians moved between workstations. At the center of the room sat a device that resembled a small satellite dish. But the technology inside was unlike anything humans had developed on their own. "Power levels stable at 94%, said Captain Ryan Peterson, the military engineer assigned to her team. "That's better than yesterday." Olivia nodded without looking up from her calculations. Her dark eyes were focused on the stream of data flowing across her screen. "We need to reach 98% minimum. Anything less won't penetrate their shield matrix." Ryan moved to stand beside her. "Do you really think it will come to that? Using this against them?" Olivia finally looked up. "The Clavari have ignored 17 diplomatic requests to remove their outposts from our system. They're positioning ships near every major human settlement from Mars to Europa. What do you think?" Ryan didn't answer. He didn't need to. Everyone, working on Project Sunburst, understood what was at stake. When the Clavari scout ship crashed in the Arctic 10 years ago, it gave humanity its first real look at alien technology. What they found was both amazing and terrifying. The Clavari were centuries ahead of Earth in most areas, but the crash also revealed something unexpected, a weakness in their shield systems that Earth might exploit. Olivia's communicator beeped. It was General Frank Howard, her military liaison. "Dr. Martinez, we need the latest test results. The Joint Chiefs are meeting in 1 hour. Sending them now, General. We've improved efficiency by 3% since yesterday. Will it work if we need it to?" His voice was tight with tension. Olivia looked at the device they had spent years developing. "It should, but we've never tested it against actual Clavari shields. All our data comes from simulations based on the crashed ship. That will have to be enough. The Clavari ambassador is meeting with President Carter right now. Intel suggests they're not coming with good news." After the call ended, Olivia turned to Ryan. "Let's run another test sequence. If this is our only shot, I want it to be perfect." Now, the White House diplomatic room, President Daniel Carter waited as the Clavari ambassador was announced. When Ambassador Vector entered, the room seemed to shrink. The Clavari stood nearly 7 feet tall. His skin was a pale blue-gray and his 4 eyes blinked independently of each other. The 2 larger eyes focused on the president while the smaller set scanned the room. "Ambassador Vector, thank you for coming," President Carter said, extending his hand. The Clavari looked at the offered hand but did not take it. "President Carter, I bring a message from the High Command." The president lowered his hand. "Please sit." They sat across from each other at the long table. Secret Service agents stood against the walls, trying not to stare at the alien. The High Command has determined that human expansion throughout this system has reached its limit, Vector said without preamble. "Your colonies on Mars have depleted resources that the Clavari Dominion requires." President Carter kept his expression neutral. "Mars is a sovereign human territory, Ambassador. We've discussed this before. Discussion time has ended. The High Command demands that Earth surrender control of Mars and its mining operations within your week. If you comply, your colonists will be permitted to return to Earth. And if we refuse?" Vector's upper eyes blinked slowly. "Then there will be consequences. Your species has been allowed to develop in peace, but you do not yet understand your place in the greater community of worlds. The Clavari Dominion has guided many young species. Some required firm guidance." President Carter leaned forward. "Let me be very clear, Ambassador. Earth will not surrender any of its territories. Furthermore, we insist that all Clavari forces withdraw from our solar system within 72 hours. Vector made a sound that might have been laughter. "You are not in a position to make demands, President Carter. Your military technology is primitive compared to ours. This is not a negotiation. It is a courtesy notification." "Perhaps the Clavari have underestimated Earth," Carter said. "We have been preparing for this possibility since your first ships entered our system. I strongly advise you to take our warning seriously. 72 hours, Ambassador. After that, we will consider any Clavari presence in our system a hostile act." Ambassador Vector stood abruptly. "I will relay your response to the High Command. They will be amused." He turned to leave but paused at the door. "For your people's sake, reconsider. The Clavari can be generous to those who understand wisdom." After the ambassador left, President Carter immediately called an emergency meeting of the National Security Council. It was time to decide whether to reveal humanity's secret weapon or keep it hidden until the last possible moment. The clock was ticking. 72 hours until humanity would either stand its ground or bow to alien demands. And in the Nevada desert, Olivia Martinez and her team worked frantically to perfect the one technology that might save their world. Jack Nelson's shuttle docked at Luna Base with a soft thud. Through the viewport, Earth hung like a blue jewel against the blackness of space. He had always found the sight calming, but not today. Today, that blue sphere represented everything at stake. "Commander Nelson, welcome to Luna Base," said the young officer who greeted him at the airlock. "Admiral Wright ordered me to escort you directly to the command center." Jack nodded and followed. The corridors of Luna Base were crowded with personnel moving with purpose. Everyone knew what was coming. The Clavari had not responded to Earth's warning, and satellite data showed their fleet was growing by the hour. In the command center, screens displayed the positions of both human and alien ships throughout the solar system. A large digital counter on the wall showed 49, 17, and 23, the hours, minutes, and seconds remaining before Earth's deadline expired. "Jack." A familiar voice made him turn. Karen Nelson stood behind a communications console. Her blonde hair was cut, shorter than when he had last seen her, almost a year ago. Their divorce had been finalized 6 months earlier, after 15 years of marriage that couldn't survive the demands of their military careers. "I didn't know you were stationed here," Jack said. "Transferred last month. I'm coordinating communications between Earth defense platforms." She hesitated. "Have you heard from Adam?" Their son was a lieutenant with the Mars Colonial Defense Force, right in the path of any Clavari attack. He sent a message yesterday, said they're on high alert but holding up well. Jack didn't mention Adam's concerns about the limited defenses on Mars. Admiral Wright's voice cut through their conversation. "Commander Nelson, good. You're here. The Admiral led Jack to a secure briefing room where several high-ranking officers were already seated. A holographic display showed the USS Defender, Earth's most advanced warship. "As of now, you're the new captain of the Defender," Admiral Wright said. "She's been retrofitted with technology that might give us an edge." A scientist Jack didn't recognize stepped forward. "The Defender has been equipped with a miniaturized version of the Sunburst system." "Sunburst?" Jack asked. "Need to know only until now," Admiral Wright explained. "It's a directed energy system developed from Clavari technology. Dr. Martinez can explain further." The scientist nodded. She looked exhausted, with dark circles under her eyes. 10 years ago, we recovered technology from a crashed Clavari scout ship. We discovered that their shield systems work on principles similar to a neural network. Each ship's shield connects to others nearby, strengthening the entire formation. She tapped a control, and the hologram changed to show a simulation of Clavari ships. "It's usually an advantage, but we found a way to create a feedback loop that can cascade through their entire connected defense grid." "You're saying we can take down multiple ships at once?" Jack asked. "In theory," Dr. Martinez said. "We've never tested it against actual Clavari shields." Jack studied the simulation. "And the Defender will deliver this weapon?" Admiral Wright shook her head. "The Defender system is just one node. The main Sunburst array is being installed in Earth's orbital defense platforms. Your job is to ensure the Clavari fleet moves into optimal position for the system to work." "You want me to bait them?" Jack said. "Precisely," the Admiral confirmed. "The Defender will lead a squadron to engage the Clavari vanguard, then execute a strategic retreat to draw them into the kill zone." In Nevada, Olivia felt strange not being in her lab. For the past 10 years, that facility had been her home more than her actual apartment. But the Sunburst Core had been transported to the Orbital Deployment Center. All she could do now was monitor remotely and hope their calculations were correct. Captain Ryan Peterson sat beside her in the transport that was taking them to the underground command bunker. "Do you think it will work?" he asked quietly. Olivia looked down at her tablet showing the latest diagnostic data. "The simulations say yes, but the Clavari might have upgraded their shields since that scout ship crashed. Either way, we'll know soon." The bunker was 20 stories underground, built to withstand direct nuclear strikes. Inside, military personnel worked at various stations. A large screen showed President Carter addressing the nation. "Citizens of Earth and our colonies," the president said. "For 20 years we have attempted peaceful coexistence with the Clavari. We welcomed them as visitors to our system. In return, they have made demands that no sovereign people could accept." Olivia found her assigned station and plugged in her tablet. The system immediately recognized her credentials and displayed the status of all 12 Sunburst nodes now in orbit around Earth. "We have issued a final warning, President," Carter continued. "The Clavari have 48 hours to withdraw from our solar system. Should they choose to ignore this warning, humanity is prepared to defend itself." The president did not mention Sunburst. The existence of the weapon remained classified. If the Clavari knew what Earth had developed, they might change their shield configurations. On Mars, Lieutenant Adam Nelson watched the president's address with his squad. The Red Planet's main colony was home to over 50,000 people, most of them civilians. "Think they'll back off?" asked Private Scott Rivera, the youngest member of Adam's squad. "No," Adam said honestly. "But I think Earth has a plan. My father was called to Luna Base yesterday. They wouldn't do that if they were just planning to surrender." Through the colony's dome, they could see the night sky. Among the stars, several lights moved in formation, Clavari ships that had arrived in Mars orbit the previous day. "I got word from command," Adam told his squad. "If they attack, our job is to protect the civilian evacuation tunnels. The colonists have already started moving essential supplies to the emergency shelters. We can't fight those ships with what we have," Rivera said. Adam nodded. "We're not supposed to. Just hold out long enough for help to arrive." But Adam wondered if help would come. The Clavari had positioned ships throughout the system. Earth's defenses would be stretched thin. He wondered what his parents were doing right now, and if either of them knew something he didn't. In Luna Base, Jack reviewed the battle plans with his new executive officer, Commander Grace Wilson. The USS Defender was impressive. Almost twice the size of any previous Earth vessel, and equipped with technology that was clearly influenced by Clavary design. The ship can handle a direct confrontation with Clavary cruisers for approximately 8 minutes, Grace explained. Just long enough to convince them we're making a serious stand before we retreat to lead them into position. Jack looked at the tactical display showing the planned engagement zone near Earth's orbit. And our casualties? Grace hesitated. Simulations predict we could lose up to 40% of our forces even if Sunburst works. And if it doesn't? Neither of them answered that question. They both knew what would happen if Earth's secret weapon failed. The Clavary would not stop at Mars. They would take everything. Jack's personal communicator beeped. It was a message from Karen. Command center now. When Jack arrived, Karen's face was pale. We just lost contact with the Mars colony. All communications gone at once. The counter on the wall now read 415207. They're moving faster than we expected, Admiral Wright said as she entered the room. The Clavary fleet is accelerating toward Mars. They're not waiting for our deadline. Jack thought of his son and the thousands of colonists. We need to launch now. No, the Admiral said firmly. Sunburst isn't fully calibrated. If we deploy early, we risk everything. So we just abandon Mars? Jack demanded. Admiral Wright's expression hardened. We stick to the plan, Commander, because if we lose Earth, there won't be anywhere left to run. The room fell silent, except for the steady beeping of monitoring equipment. The greatest threat humanity had ever faced was approaching, and Earth's most powerful weapon wasn't ready. Jack wondered if the Clavary had somehow discovered their plans, or if they had simply grown tired of waiting. The USS Defender moved silently through space, leading a formation of 20 Earth ships. From the command chair, Jack watched as the blue glow of Earth faded behind them. They were on an intercept course with the Clavary fleet that had attacked Mars. Status report, Jack ordered. All systems at full capacity. Weapons charged, Commander Grace Wilson reported. The rest of the squadron is in formation and awaiting your orders. Jack nodded. The weight of command felt heavier than ever. Behind him, communications officers worked frantically to restore contact with Mars. One of them was Karen, who had insisted on joining the mission when she learned their son might be in danger. Still nothing from the Mars colony, Karen said, not looking up from her console. But we're picking up scattered distress signals from individual outposts. Jack turned to the tactical display. The Clavary fleet had split after attacking Mars. The larger group continued toward Earth while a smaller force remained in orbit around the red planet. Any word from Admiral Wright about the Sunburst status? Jack asked. Last update says they need at least 18 more hours for final calibration, Grace replied. Jack frowned. They didn't have 18 hours. The Clavary would reach Earth well before then. New orders from Earth Command, Karen announced. We're to engage the enemy advance force but avoid direct conflict with their main fleet. Delay tactics only. They want us to buy time, Jack said. He studied the tactical display again. Send orders to the squadron. We'll intercept at these coordinates. Grace looked concerned. Sir, that puts us between their split forces. Exactly. They'll have to respond, which should slow their advance. As the Earthships accelerated toward the intercept point, Jack thought about Adam. His son was a fighter, smart and resourceful. If anyone could survive on Mars, Adam could. On Mars, Adam Nelson crouched in the maintenance tunnels beneath the main colony dome. With him were 20 Marines and over 200 civilians. They had been hiding for 6 hours ever since the Clavary ships appeared in the sky and began landing troops. What are they doing up there? Whispered Private Rivera. Adam peered through a ventilation grate. Outside, tall blue-gray aliens moved methodically through the colony streets. They carried devices that seemed to be scanning the buildings. Looking for us, Adam replied. But these tunnels have lead shielding. Their scanners can't penetrate it. An older woman clutching a small child moved closer. How long do we need to stay down here? Adam wished he had a better answer. Until help arrives or we can reach the emergency shuttles at the south hangar. The problem was that the south hangar was half a mile away, through colony sections now patrolled by Clavari soldiers. And even if they reached the shuttles, the alien ships in orbit would likely shoot them down. Adam checked his communicator. Again. Still no signal from Earth or orbiting EDF ships. The Clavari had disabled the colony's communication array in their first strike. "I need 3 volunteers," Adam said. "We're going to create a distraction at the North Dome. That should draw their patrols away from the route to the hangar." Rivera and 2 other Marines stepped forward immediately. Adam nodded his thanks. "The rest of you get these people to the shuttles. Wait for my signal before you move." Adam knew it was likely a suicide mission, but it was the only way to give the civilians a chance. In the Nevada bunker, Olivia and Ryan watched with growing concern as reports came in from the defensive line near Jupiter. The Clavari weren't just attacking, they were systematically destroying Earth's outer system outposts. "Why aren't they waiting for the deadline?" Ryan asked. "It's like they're deliberately ignoring our warning." "They don't believe we have any real defense against them," Olivia said. "And based on what they've seen of our conventional weapons, they're right." A general approached their station. "Dr. Martinez, we need options. The president is asking if Sunburst can be deployed early." Olivia shook her head. "The system requires precise calibration to create the cascade effect. If we rush it, we risk it failing completely." "What about a limited deployment? Target just their lead ships?" Olivia considered this. "It might work, but it would alert them to the technology. They'd adapt their shields before we could launch a full-scale attack." The general looked grim. "The Clavari will reach Earth orbit in 20 hours. Make whatever preparations you can for early deployment just in case." After he left, Ryan looked at Olivia. "We need to find a way to speed up the calibration." Olivia stared at her screens, then suddenly straightened. "What if we reduce the number of nodes? Instead of trying to calibrate all 12 platforms, we focus on the 6 in high Earth orbit?" "That would reduce the effective range," Ryan pointed out. "Yes, but we could have those 6 ready in 10 hours instead of 18. The Clavari would have to come within that range to attack Earth anyway." Ryan nodded slowly. "It's worth trying. I'll update the simulations." Olivia began reprogramming the calibration sequences. As she worked, she thought about what would happen if they failed. Earth had never faced an existential threat like this before, not just to a country or region, but to the entire human race. The first clash between Earth ships and the Clavari advance force lit up space near the orbit of Venus. The USS Defender led the attack, its new weapons burning through the shields of a Clavari patrol vessel. "Direct hit," reported the weapons officer. "Enemy ship disabled." Jack didn't allow himself to feel triumphant. The damaged Clavari ship was just one of dozens approaching. "Continue the attack pattern. Target their engines where possible." The Earth Squadron moved in a tight formation, focusing fire on individual Clavari ships before quickly changing position. It was a tactic designed to confuse and slow the enemy advance, rather than defeat it outright. "Sir, Clavari reinforcements approaching from Sector 7, Grace warned. "They'll cut off our retreat path in 3 minutes. "That's longer than I expected," Jack said. "Continue the current engagement for 2 more minutes, then order the squadron to fall back to position Beta." Their delaying action was working. The Clavari were diverting ships to deal with the Earth Squadron rather than continuing directly to Earth. But the advantage wouldn't last long. On the communications console, Karen suddenly straightened. "Captain, I'm receiving a weak signal from Mars. It's using Adam's personal emergency frequency." Jack felt his heart race. "Put it through." The message was broken and static-filled, but Adam's voice was recognizable. "Under the colony. Civilians. Hiding. Planning shuttle escape. Need orbital support at South Hangar." "Can you respond?" Jack asked urgently. Karen shook her head. "It's one way only. Some kind of emergency beacon." Jack made a quick decision. "Commander Wilson, you have the con. Continue with the mission as planned." Grace looked surprised. "Sir?" "I'm taking a strike team to Mars in one of our fast attack shuttles. If there are survivors, We need to extract them. That's not our mission, Grace protested. Our mission is to protect Earth and its colonies, Jack countered. Karen, you're with me. We need your communications expertise. As they headed for the shuttle bay, Karen looked at Jack. You know this is probably a trap, right? The Clavari could have found Adam's communicator. Yes, Jack admitted. But if there's even a small chance he's alive, I have to try. The small attack shuttle detached from the Defender and set course for Mars. Behind them, the battle continued as Earth ships fought desperately to slow the Clavari advance. On Earth, Olivia and her team worked frantically to recalibrate the sunburst platforms. And on Mars, Adam led his small team toward the colony's North Dome, prepared to sacrifice themselves to save the civilians hiding in the tunnels. The clock was ticking. Earth had hours, not days, before the main Clavari fleet arrived. Adam Nelson and his 3 volunteers moved quietly through the service tunnels toward the North Dome of the Mars colony. Each carried limited weapons, standard-issue pulse rifles, and a few explosive charges. It wasn't much against the superior Clavari technology, but it might be enough to create the distraction they needed. We're approaching the access point, Adam whispered. Through the small grate above them, they could see Clavari soldiers moving equipment into the colony's main research facility. What are they doing? Asked Rivera. Looks like they're stripping our technology, Adam replied. Taking anything useful? The plan was simple but dangerous. They would set explosive charges at key structural points around the North Dome. The explosions wouldn't breach the dome itself. That would kill everyone in the colony, but they would trigger alarms and emergency systems that would draw Clavari forces away from the south hangar. Plant the charges here, here, and here, Adam said, marking points on his tablet map. Set timers for 15 minutes. That should give us time to get back to the main group. As they separated to plant their explosives, Adam checked his emergency beacon again. He had no way of knowing if his distress signal had reached anyone. For all he knew, Earth itself might already be under attack. Jack and Karen's shuttle approached Mars using a low-power stealth mode. The small craft wasn't designed for combat. It was built for speed and minimal detection. As they entered orbit, they could see at least 6 Clavari ships positioned around the planet. How do we get past those? Karen asked, looking at the tactical display. Jack studied the Clavari patrol pattern. There's a gap in their sensor coverage near the southern pole. We can use the polar ice cap's magnetic interference to mask our approach. The shuttle shuddered as Jack pushed it into a steep descent. Karen gripped her seat as warning lights flashed across the console. Hull temperature rising, she reported. We're coming in too fast. No choice, Jack replied, his hands steady on the controls. If we slow down, they'll detect us. The shuttle plunged through the thin Martian atmosphere, friction turning the forward shields bright orange. Jack waited until the last possible moment before firing retro thrusters. The shuttle slowed violently, throwing them against their restraints. They landed roughly behind a ridge 2 miles from the colony's south hangar. The shuttle's systems automatically powered down to minimal levels to avoid detection. Communications? Jack asked as he checked his weapon. Karen adjusted her equipment. I'm picking up scattered signals, emergency frequencies only. She paused, listening. There's movement near the south hangar. Looks like someone's preparing the emergency shuttles. That's our target, Jack said. Let's move. On the USS Defender, Commander Grace Wilson watched as the Earth Squadron continued its delaying action against the Clavari forces. They had managed to disable 3 enemy ships and force others to divert course. But the advantage wouldn't last. Ma'am, the Clavari main fleet has changed formation, reported the tactical officer. They're accelerating toward Earth. ETA now 11 hours. Grace opened a secure channel to Earth Command. Admiral Wright, the enemy has increased speed. Request permission to fall back to defensive position Alpha. The Admiral's voice came through clearly. Granted, Commander. The sunburst platforms are almost ready. We need your squadron to help draw the Clavari into optimal position. Understood, Grace replied. What about Captain Nelson's rescue mission? There was a pause before the Admiral answered. If the sunburst deployment succeeds, we'll send reinforcements to Mars. Until then, they're on their own. Grace ordered the squadron to begin their strategic retreat toward Earth. As they fell back, the Clavari followed, exactly as planned. The trap was almost set. In the Nevada bunker, Olivia watched as the final calibrations were completed on the 6 sunburst platforms. The system was at 96% efficiency. Not perfect, but it would have to be enough. Final diagnostic complete, Ryan announced. All 6 nodes are synchronized and ready. General Howard approached their station. The president is asking for your assessment, Doctor. Will this work? Olivia looked at the simulation one more time. The Clavari shields are designed to share energy between connected ships. Our system will reverse that flow, creating a cascading overload. If it works as designed, it should disable their entire fleet within seconds. And if it doesn't, then we've lost our best chance to stop them, Olivia said honestly. The general nodded grimly. The president has authorized deployment as soon as the Clavari fleet enters optimal range. That's expected to be in approximately 3 hours. After he left, Ryan turned to Olivia. 3 hours until we know if 10 years of work was enough. Olivia nodded. Let's run one more simulation, I want to be sure. On Mars, Adam's team had just finished planting the final explosive when a noise froze them in place. Clavari voices echoed through the tunnel ahead. They were speaking their own language, but the tone was unmistakable. They were hunting. They've detected us, Adam whispered. Back to the main tunnel now. They retreated quietly, but a Clavari patrol appeared at the junction ahead. Cutting off their escape route, Adam signaled his team to take cover as the tall alien figures swept the area with scanning devices. We need a new plan, Rivera whispered. Adam checked the timer on the explosives. 10 minutes remaining. Not enough time to reach the main group before detonation. Change of plans, he said quietly. When the charges blow, the confusion will be our only chance. We'll head directly for the south hangar instead of going back. A sudden commotion from the tunnel caught their attention. Weapons. Fire echoed through the passageway, followed by alien screams. The Clavari patrol ahead of them turned toward the noise, raising their weapons. Then human figures appeared behind the aliens, firing with deadly precision. The Clavari fell before they could return fire. As the dust settled, Adam saw a familiar face. Dad? Jack Nelson lowered his rifle. Adam, we got your signal. Behind him stood Karen, also armed and scanning the tunnel for more threats. Mom? How did you both get here? No time for that, Jack said. We have a shuttle 2 miles south of the hangar, but we need to move now. Adam quickly explained about the explosives and the civilians hiding in the tunnels. Jack nodded in understanding. We all need to get those people to our shuttle, he said. It won't hold everyone, but we can take the children and injured. Karen was already on her communicator. I've contacted the main group. They're proceeding to the emergency shuttles as planned. The tunnel lights suddenly flickered as a distant rumble shook the ground. Adam checked his timer. The explosives had detonated early. We need to move, Jack ordered. Now. As they raced through the tunnels toward the south hangar, the entire colony shook with secondary explosions. Above them, the battle for Earth was reaching its climax. In less than 3 hours, humanity would either lose everything, or the Clavari would learn the consequences of ignoring Earth's final warning. President Carter stood in the Global Defense Command Center beneath the Pentagon. Around him, military leaders and scientists watched the large display screens showing the Clavari fleet approaching Earth. The alien armada was massive. Over 300 warships arranged in their distinctive linked formation. Time to optimal firing range? The president asked. 17 minutes, sir, General Howard replied. The sunburst platforms are fully charged and targeted. On another screen, they could see Earth's defensive fleet, a much smaller force of 60 ships moving into position. The USS Defender had rejoined the fleet after Commander Wilson received word that Captain Nelson had found survivors on Mars. What about the Mars evacuation? The president asked. An officer looked up from her console. We've received signals from 5 emergency shuttles that launched from the colony. They're being pursued by Clavari interceptors. The president nodded grimly. Order the Jupiter outpost to send ships to assist if possible. He turned to Dr. Martinez, who stood nearby, monitoring the sunburst status. Doctor, this is our last chance. Are you confident in the system? Olivia looked up from her tablet. As confident as I can be, Mr. President. The technology is sound, but we've never deployed it against their actual shields. Then we pray it works, the President said quietly, because we have no plan B. Jack piloted the small shuttle through Mars' upper atmosphere, pushing the engines beyond safe limits. Behind them, 2 Clavari interceptors were closing fast. In the passenger compartment, Karen tended to injured colonists while Adam and his Marines watched the pursuing ships through the viewport. They're locking weapons, Adam warned. Jack executed a sharp, evasive maneuver. The shuttle shuddered as alien energy weapons grazed their shields. Shield strength at 30%, Karen reported. We can't take another direct hit. Jack checked their trajectory. We're nearly out of the atmosphere. Once we reach space, I can push the engines to full power. The other evacuation shuttles? Adam asked. Already ahead of us, Jack replied. But they're being pursued too. The shuttle broke through the last layer of Mars's thin atmosphere. Jack immediately diverted all remaining shield power to the engines. The small craft lurched forward, gaining speed rapidly. Incoming transmission, Karen announced. It's from the USS Defender. Commander Wilson's voice came through the speakers. Captain Nelson, we've detected your shuttle. Be advised that the sunburst weapon will deploy in approximately 12 minutes. All Earth forces are ordered to move to safe coordinates immediately. Jack exchanged a look with Karen. They both knew what that meant. The sunburst system was ready, but they might not make it back in time. Commander, we have civilians aboard and Clavari on our tail, Jack responded. Request assistance. Assistance is already en route, Captain, Wilson replied. Look to your starboard side. Through the viewport, they saw a welcome sight. 2 Earth fighters streaking toward them, weapons blazing. The Clavari interceptors broke off pursuit to engage this new threat. Get those civilians to the rendezvous point, came a pilot's voice over the comm. We'll handle these guys. On the USS Defender, Commander Wilson watched as the Clavari fleet entered Earth orbit. The alien ships moved with confidence, clearly, not expecting significant resistance. All ships in defensive position, reported the tactical officer. Sunburst platforms report ready status. Wilson opened a channel to all Earth vessels. This is Commander Wilson. All ships prepare for Operation Sunburst. Once the weapon activates, be prepared for immediate engagement with disabled enemy vessels. The Earth fleet was positioned in a loose sphere around the planet, deliberately presenting what would appear to the Clavari as a weak and disorganized defense. The strategy was to let the aliens advance confidently into the trap. Enemy fleet has entered optimal range, the tactical officer announced. All ships connected to their shield network as predicted. Wilson opened a channel to Earth Command. Defender to Command. The target is in position. Request authorization to activate Sunburst. President Carter's voice came through clearly. Authorization granted, Commander. Good luck. Wilson nodded to her communications officer. Send the activation code. In the Nevada bunker, Olivia watched as the activation command was transmitted to the 6 orbital platforms. Years of work, countless simulations, and humanity's best hope all came down to this moment. Sunburst platforms powering up, Ryan reported beside her. Energy levels rising. On the main screen, they could see the orbital platforms beginning to glow with blue-white energy. The Clavari ships continued their advance, apparently unaware of the threat. Energy levels at maximum, Ryan announced. Firing sequence initiated. Olivia held her breath as the platforms released their energy in perfectly synchronized beams. The brilliant light streaked toward the lead Clavari vessels. In space, Jack's shuttle had just reached the rendezvous point with a small Earth rescue vessel when the sky lit up behind them. 6 blinding beams of energy struck the front section of the Clavari fleet. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Did it fail? Adam asked, watching through the viewport. Then it began. A golden wave of energy rippled across the shields of the struck vessels. The energy didn't dissipate, instead it intensified, jumping from ship to ship through their connected shield network. It's working, Karen whispered. The cascade effect is spreading. Within seconds, the energy wave had engulfed the entire front section of the Clavari fleet. Ship after ship went dark as their power systems overloaded. Some smaller vessels exploded outright as their reactors failed catastrophically. The larger ships drifted helplessly, all systems shut down by the cascading energy pulse. The remaining Clavari ships, those that had been outside the shield network, frantically attempted to retreat. But Earth's defense fleet was already moving to engage, targeting the now unshielded alien vessels. In the command center, cheers erupted as they watched the Clavari fleet disintegrate before their eyes. Over 200 enemy ships had been neutralized in less than 30 seconds. It worked, General Howard said, disbelief evident in his voice. My God, it actually worked. President Carter turned to Olivia. Dr. Martinez, I believe you've just saved humanity. Olivia was already studying the data from the attack. The cascade effect was more powerful than our simulations predicted. Their shield design made them incredibly vulnerable once we found the right frequency. What happens now? The president asked. The disabled ships will remain powerless for at least 24 hours, Olivia explained. Enough time for our forces to secure them. 1 week later, Jack stood with Adam and Karen in the observation lounge of the USS Defender. Below them, Earth shone blue and beautiful. Around the planet, recovery teams were still processing the captured Clavari vessels. The president says the Clavari High Command has requested peace talks, Jack said. They've withdrawn all remaining forces from our solar system. Do you think they'll honor it? Adam asked. They don't have much choice, Karen replied. Word has spread to other alien species about what happened here. Everyone knows now that Earth isn't defenseless. In the distance, they could see one of the sunburst platforms in orbit, a reminder of humanity's unexpected strength. The Clavari had ignored Earth's final warning, believing their superiority was absolute. Their mistake had cost them their fleet and their reputation. Jack put his arms around his son and ex-wife. Whatever the future held, humanity had earned its place among the stars. Not through conquest or aggression, but by defending what was theirs with unexpected ingenuity. The aliens had learned an important lesson that day: never underestimate humans, and never ever ignore their final warning.